Yeah, please.
Just
Hello.
will you be recording these sessions and sharing with us after the class?
Yes, I will be recording the session.
Okay. Thank
Yeah, thank you. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
you.
I'm recording the sessions. Okay. Okay. So in today's session, we'll discuss about XML, web service, SOAP, right? Once we cover this presentation, we'll see something in technical, because these are the terms which are very important in SOA, like web services, XML, SOAP, XPath, XSLT. Okay. So first we'll see why we should use XML and what is XML, right? Okay. Before going to XML, we'll see one scenario here. Let's say I want to start a business, right? I want to start my business in America, right? So here, what should I do? Because as I'm from India, I speak Hindi, right? So American will speak English, right? Either I should learn English or American should learn Hindi, right? To overcome the communication gap, right? So now I'm expanding my business to China. Here's the same issue. Either I should learn Chinese or China should learn Hindi, right? Then I extended my business to Japan. The same issue, right? So let's say Chinese rejected to learn Hindi. So in that way, I should learn Chinese, right? Of course. So now let's say there is a scenario where Americans and Chinese business team, right, want to communicate together. Do you think it's possible? Because China rejected to learn English and Americans don't know English and Chinese don't know English, right? So how do I overcome this situation, right? So I'll overcome with an international language. So I'll say English is an international language, right? Or else I'll say whomever with I'm doing business, they should learn English. Let's say when I'm doing business with America, China, and Japan, and some other countries, they should learn English, so that our life makes easy, right? So here, English solve our problem, right? To communicate with each other. In the same way, while coming to the technology, XML does that, right? So XML is external markup language. It's used to describe the data. It is a software and hardware independent tool for sharing the transporting data, right? So now let's say if two different products want to share the data, right? They will simply share in XML. They need not to worry about the others, right? So now in my previous scenario, apart from my mother tongue, I should learn English. That's it, right? Even in the technology way, same, right? SAP will talk in their own way. The SAP ERP system can talk in their own way. But if it want to talk with the external systems, then it should talk in XML, right? The main problem is solved here. That's why we are using XML. And XML is a standard from W3C. W3C is nothing but the World Wide Web Consortium, right? Now, XML contains information which is more self-descriptive. We'll see one example here, right? So here's the note, right? And I open the note there and close the note here. So XML is a markup language which contains the open tag and close tag, right? If you see, so here the note is a root element. Inside the node, I'll have many sub-elements. I can say child elements, two, right? from heading, right? So once we are done with the slides, we'll go in depth into XML. So for now, any questions?
No, I'm
Okay, I'm moving
none
to.
from my side.
Okay, I think Safik is clear. I'm moving to next slide.
Yeah.
So, okay. So now I'm confused. How can I read the below XML file? Let's say in this XML file, I want to read only heading. I want to skip to, from, and body. Or else, how do I navigate inside in this XML, right? With the help of XPath. We'll see this XPath and XML more into technical once the slides are completed. Okay. So these slides are just for the introduction to give the clear picture why we are using XML, XPath, web services, and all. Okay. Yeah. Now we'll see what is web services. All right. So in one of our previous slide here, so we overcome our issue with the help of English, right? So how do I communicate, right, with the help of English? The what means either by phone or via GoToMeeting conference or Cisco conference tools, right? In the same way, in the technology, I solve the issue with the help of XML. Now, how do I carry XML, right? With the help of web services. Clear? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So now, before moving to RPC, sorry, before moving to web services, we'll see what is RPC. Okay. It's a protocol actually. It's often necessary to design distributed systems whereby the code to run an application is spread across the multiple computers. Here's the example. So code on one computer needs to call and code on another computer, right? This is called remote procedure call, right? So that's what the distributed programming, right? My code will be running on different computers, but end of the day, all this code which is residing in the different computers should work together, right? In that scenario, I'll use remote procedure call. So what we need for RPC, right? We need the location of the code. Where does my code actually resides, right? And the parameters. I can say the request and response, and of course, yeah, a return value. So my response. So another thing like networking issues, packaging, data from transport from one computer to another computer. There are lot many things, right? We'll see some traditional, uh, RPC protocol. There are several protocol exist, but we'll discuss few of them. One is DCOM. It's a distributed component object modeling. It's an extension of COM. And the problem with this is it's a Microsoft specific, which runs only on Windows machines, right? And the second thing is IIOP, Internet Inter ORB Protocol. I think most of you guys heard about CORBA. It's a Common Object Request Broker Architecture. Right? It's one of the RPC protocol. And the difficulties is very difficult to work with that. And we have Java RMI, remote method invocation. Drawback is we should be developing in Java, right? So these are the widely used RPC protocol which has limitations, right? And which is platform dependent, right? So to overcome this, we have a new RPC protocol called web service, right? So web service is a means for requesting information or carrying out the processing task over the internet. They are typically involving the encoding of both the request and response in the form of XML. So as I said before, web service is the medium to carry our XML that contains request and response. They use standard internet protocol for transporting this encoding, right? It uses a standard. So I can send my request via HTTP, HTTPS, TCP, and many other protocols, right? So this above 2 points makes the message universally available, which means the program that I developed in parallel, which is running on Linux, can call a .NET program which is running on Windows, right? Because this web service is also a open acceptable language, right? Because XML is again nothing but an web service is nothing but again XML, right? So we'll see what web services contain. This is just an XML document. It contains a set of definition to describe a web service. We'll see what are those. Requirement 1, where the service is hosted, what protocol to use to talk to the services, what are the operations. So this services binding port type we'll discuss later. And what are the parameters, the request and response. So these parameters, I said request and response, right? I will be defining in XML. What are the type of messages types? We will discuss all these things in once we're done with the slides. And these are the types of communication, right? Generally we all know, right? One way, which means just fire and forget. I can say it's a forever information. I'll send a request. I'm not expecting any response. I'll just tell them this is what happened. I'm not expecting any response from them. And the second thing is synchronous, right? I said something and I'm waiting for response in particular time of period. And asynchronous. Let's say if someone called you and you're busy, you'll say I'll call you back. You said you'll call you back and there is no tentative time, right? And there is no proper time. It can be a minute, 2 minutes or 1 hour, right? You are sending request and you are waiting for the response. The response can come at any time, right? And the notification is the same as one way. Are we clear on this? In the further session, we'll go in depth on what is one way, how it works, how synchronous work, how asynchronous work. Yeah. So I think for
Yes,
now
clear
it's
for me.
clear. Yeah.
Yes, clear for me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now we'll discuss about SOAP, Simple Object Access Protocol. Right? What is this SOAP? SOAP simply it's a protocol. It carries my request and response, which I defined in the XML. And who carries this SOAP? A web services carries this SOAP. In a simple way, the request that I defined in XML, I'll put it in SOAP, and this SOAP web service will carry this. Web service is responsible of carrying this simple object access protocol, which contains my request and response. So a SOAP is again an XML, right? Here it will have envelope. We know the traditional envelope letters, right? So it will have to and from, right? And then it will have a body where you can write your message, right? So here I have an envelope which is opened here and closed here. So inside this I have headers. Headers is nothing but from where I am sending request and from to whom I am sending request, right? The request from where I am sending, the request to whom I am sending. On this body which contains the actual information, right? So the body contains our actual request, and technically we might have false, right? Inside the body only we'll have false. It can be a business exception or system exception. We'll discuss this exception in the further sessions. Okay. So I'm repeating again. A SOAP is a protocol which carries our request inside web service. A simple way of understanding. Okay. A SOAP contains envelope. Inside the envelope I have headers. Headers contains uh, the from and to address, from where I'm sending request to whom I need to send the request, right? and the body contains false and our actual request. Right, this is the request message, and the response will also looks like the same. There won't be much difference, it will be same. So clear on this?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And as recapping about SOAP, it's a simple object access protocol. It's an application communication protocol which is widely acceptable in all the products and technology. A SOAP is the format, as I discussed, for sending and receiving the messages inside a web service. SOAP is a platform independent again, as it runs inside the web service or web service. It's again based on XML. It's a standard from W3C, right? Where we get the standards for XML.
What did you say about W3C? Like,
Yeah, W3C is a World Wide Web Consortium.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are the open standard, right? So these guys will give you the rules and regulations for designing XML, web services, and SOP, right? Because see, we should have one body who controls who give the standard specification for all the XML, right? Because XML is widely used, right? We cannot describe the XML in our own way, right? There should be some standard so that everyone can follow that, so that everyone can understand it easily. That's why we have the concept called open standard. There are two standards, one is open standard and closed standard, right? When you talk about a .NET, it's a closed standard. When you talk about Java, it's an open standard, right? The same way XML is an open standard, so that everyone can be easily used. So hope we are clear. Why are we using web services XML and SOP?
Yes, clear for me. Sorry, Teja, what's the full name for WSDL, for that abbreviation, WSDL?
Okay, it's a web service descriptive language.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So now, first we'll see XML. We'll see XML, and so in one of the slide I said XPath, how I read the XML. We'll read the XML using the XPath, because XML, XPath, and there is one more concept called XSD, schema, which are very important to learn SOA. It can be any SOA product. Okay, so these web services, so we will not design it, it will generate automatically, we need not to worry about that. But still, once we completed XML, XPath and XSD, we'll definitely see that how web service looks like, how we can design our own web service. Okay, yeah. So here I'll design an XML which is related to school, where they have students. They have the student information, name, age, class, and the his percentage, overall percentage, right? So we'll design that XML. So in one of the slide, as I said, XML is a self-descriptive, right? By seeing the XML, we should understand what is that, right? So we'll define that once. One XML. School. As I said, XML has open tags and closed tag, right? So the student information will reside inside the school, right? So which means the school is a root element. I can say root tag. So instead of tag, I'll use a term element. Okay, school. Inside the school, I have students, right? Right? Inside the students, I'll have student, right? I can have a number of students, right? So inside the student, I'll have name, age, so this student is a multiple occurrence, right? I'll have more than one student, right? Hope I'm clear on this, right? We are clear. So school will have multiple students. So we have 3 students, let's say Teja, Safik and Edward. This is my XML structure.
Okay.
So now, so I think we are clear on XML, right? So we'll have open tag and close tags, right? So this school,
Yeah.
see if I minimize the school, everything is minimized because it's a root element. Everything, the students inside the school, right? If I minimize the student which is under the students root element, see for this student, the students is the root element, right? For the students, school is the root element, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I minimize the students, the name, age, percentage will be automatically minimized. This is showing the structure actually. Right. It has a clear structure, right? Where everyone can easily understand. So in simple way, this is school. The school contains multiple students, and the students are Teja, Safik, and Edward. And these are the age and the percentage. Now, here are the scenario, right? Okay. How do I navigate inside this XML? Right? If I want to read the name, how should I travel inside this XML? With the help of XPath, right? So XPath is a syntax. It's a syntax for defining parts of an XML. It's again, it's an expression to navigate in the XML documents, as I said before, right? So we will see one simple XPath how it looks like, right? So it starts with slash school. In our scenario, it's a school, students, and then student, and then it's a name, right? This is how a simple XPath looks like. Now I am here at the name, right? Let's say if I want age, I'll put age here. This is a simple XPath expression, right? Let's say there's a scenario that I want to fetch the name of the student where his percentage is 99, right? I this is my request. Let's say I'm getting this request from a file or database, right? I have 3 students, but I don't want to process all these 3 students. I want to process the student which has only 99 percentage, right? This might be my scenario, right? So now in this scenario, school, students, student, and I need the name of the person whose percentage is 99, right? So where is this percentage resides? It resides in the student element, right? Now here next to the student I'll put angular bracket percentage is equal to 99. I'm sorry. So in this scenario, in this scenario, who has 99%? Teja and Safik. So only these two records will be processed. This record will be skipped. Let's say I want the percentage who is having 65. Then the above two records will be ignored. The only this record will be processed. Right? See, it's nothing but a query, right? An SQL query where I am fetching the data from the database in the same way, right? XML is used, SQL is used to fetch the data from the database, and XPath is used to fetch the data from XML. Hope my statement is clear.
Sorry, just come again, Teja.
Okay, no problem. I said SQL is used to fetch the data from database, and XPath is used to fetch the data from XML.
Okay, yes, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you. And so in the further sessions, we'll see this XPath in deep, like in when we are developing scenarios, right? So this is just for your understanding, so that we can start developing the logic in people and mediator. Now this is fine, but I have one more problem here. Let's say I'm getting this request from I can say from database. I'm reading this data from the database, which I need to process in some other third-party system. I can say I need to read this data from database, and I need to process it in a file. But the scenario is, in the database, one second guys, please. I'm sorry, I'm back. So okay, I'm explaining the scenario again. Let's say I'm getting this data in the form of file. Let's say school is giving me the file, one XML file. I need to write that file, and I need to process that file in the database, right? Let's say in the database, this age is integer, right? But somehow this school team, instead of 16, they send like 16, right? Which is a fault. But web database will not accept that, right? See, we overcome the issue, right, with the help of XML. What issue we overcome? I mean, why we are using XML? Because it's a platform independent, platform and technology independent. It don't depend on any technology or platform, right? So, but if I am sending the request as my wish, and I'm not worrying about the target system, it's again a problem, right? So database expecting in the form of integer, but the school students are sending in the integer, in the string, right? In for Teja, they send the age as a string, and for Safik, they send the age as integer, right? Again, I have a problem, right? So now to overcome this issue, I will define this XML that it should be like this only, right? I should have student, instead of inside the students I should have name, age, percentage, and this should come in the sequence, right? First name, then age, then percentage, not percentage, name and age, right? I'll define the sequence, and I will define the structure of this name, age and percentage. What is name? It is string. So whenever the school representative is sending the XML file, this name should be string, and this age should be integer, and this percentage should be integer. So to defining this XML, I'll be using XSD, which is nothing XML schema definition. In a simple way, I'll call it as a schema. So to define this XML in the standard way, I'll be using XSD, which is nothing but a schema. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Thank you. Right. So defining the schema is very, very important. Right. See, in most of the cases, if we are defining our own service, then we'll definitely need to define the schema too. Let's say if I am calling the existing services, then I need not to create any schema. Let's say this school service is already there, which is already there. So which means they already will be having an XML structure, right? Which means they will be already having schema. So I'll be using their schema, right? Let's say their service is not yet developed and we are developing the service. So in that scenario, we'll be defining our own schema and we'll be giving that service to the school guys. So they will send the XML file based on that schema. See, whatever it is, the request and the response, irrespective of any product, it will be based on the schema only, because schema is used to define the XML. Okay. Let's say in my schema I defined this age as an integer, but somehow I got as a string, so it will be rejected. I don't process this record at all. Okay, so we'll see one simple schema. Actually this is the JDeveloper where we'll be using for creating our server applications. I'll explain this later. First I'll explain everything later. First we'll see how we'll define a schema. Okay, you can ignore this for now. Yeah. Okay, annotations I will explain later. So this is the starting tag of my schema. It has schema and ends with schema, right? So we'll discuss about the namespace here. So namespace is very, very important. If you go for web services, right, XML schema, right, namespace will be always there, and it is mandatory and it's must and should to be used. The reason why we are using namespace is to avoid the ambiguity errors. Let's say in Java or in some other language, so I define a class, right? I define two different classes with the same name, right? When I compile it, I'll get the ambiguity error, which means that these names already exist. Let's say this class name already exists or some other, which is nothing but an ambiguity error. To overcome this issue, they have a concept called packages, right? In Java, we have a concept called packages, right? So I have two different packages. In two different packages, I can have same names as a class name, right? So I think how, you know how package looks like, right? It will be something like this: java dot math dot calc, something like that. So these are the package, and this calc is the class, and I have one more package called right. See, if these two packages want to work together and they both have same class name called calc, right, If I'm not using this package, then I'll definitely get ambiguity error, right? See, let's say if I want to use this calc in math, I'll simply refer like java.math.calc. If I want to refer the calc class from custom, then I'll simply refer custom.java.custom.calc. Both are different names, right? So this I have overcome this ambiguity error. In the same way, in XML language also, we are using target namespace to overcome this ambiguity error. So we'll define this target namespace based on our project uh, naming standards. So in our scenario, I'm giving training.org, right? Every target namespace will have one alias name, right? Because if I want to refer any element, I need to refer with this whole, right? http training.org colon my element name, which is difficult, right? So to overcome that, I'm having XML namespace. Don't worry, if you go in deep, you'll definitely understand. For now, just understand the target namespace used to overcome the ambiguity error. I'm creating one alias name for this target namespace as try. Okay. Right. My scenario is to define a schema for this XML. Right. Before starting XML, schema, there are few things. Right. This name is a element, right? I can say it's a simple element because it is just a string, right? This age is also a simple element. This percentage is also a simple element because they're just string and integers, right? When you talk about the student has multiple simple elements, right? Name, which is a string, age, which is an integer, right? The student has multiple types. Okay, so I said string and integer, right? This string and integers are types. In programming language, we'll say it's a data types, right? Yeah. So as the student contains the multiple types, the combination of string and integer, so I'll call the student as a complex type, right? This name is a simple type, this age is a simple type, this percentage is a simple type, and this student is a complex type because it has the combination of simple types, right? Like a string and integer. So if I want to define this name, age and percentage, first I should define a complex type called student. Am I clear? Yeah.
Yes.
XSD, complex type. I have a name of this complex type, right, which is student. So it has open tag and close tag. As I said, this name, age, percentage should come in an order. It should come in a sequence, right? Again, this sequence has open tag and close tag. Inside this case sequence, I'll define these elements, simple type elements, right? See, in schema, all these tags, school, students, student, name, age, percentage are element. Now we define the complex type. Hope you are clear how we will be defining the complex type. Now we'll be defining the simple types, right? XSD element, it's an element, right? And what is the name of that element? It's a name. And what is the type of that element? It's a string, right? And when you define element, name is equal to age, and what is the type of this age? It's an integer. Oops, sorry. And my percentage also integer. So now we defined this part, right? Now we need to define the students, right? See here, the student is a multiple occurrence which is coming more than one time, right? Where the student contains inside the students, right? So now I'm defining the students. See, again, this students is also a complex type, right? Because this students contains student, where student is again a complex type. So obviously the students will become a complex type. What is my complex type name here? Students, right? Now inside this students complex type, I need to refer this student, right? I'll say element name is equal to type. What is the type? It's a complex type, right? So see, this XSD integer, all these things are predefined types, right? This complex type is custom design type, is we who design this complex type, right? And the student, this student is a complex type which is defined by us, right? Which contains string and integers, right? I can refer this complex type anywhere. This is the way we refer. This type is used to define this element with the predefined data type or the user defined complex type. So if I want to define the students with this complex type, I should use the prefix. So we defined as a TRAI for the target namespace, right? So it is TRAI colon student. Am I clear? Okay. So in JDeveloper we have an option called design, where we can see all this thing in a graphical user interface. This is my students, right? So generally inside students I have student, right? Inside students I have students. So just change this name as a student element name. This one I'm talking about. The student, save it. design. So I have students. Inside students, I have student, which has name, age, and percentage. So this student, as I said before, it's a multiple occurrence. I'll have more than one student, right? I should define this here. Like minimum occurrence is 1 and max occurrence is unbound, right? I should have at least one student or more than one student. Am I clear? If you
Yes, clear.
yeah, if you see here, you're seeing one symbol here, 1 to infinity, right?
Okay.
Yeah, which means the student will come, it will come one time, or it will come more than one time, which means the student is mandatory. You should get at least one time. Let's say I want to make this student as an optional. I'll simply put 0, which means I might get student or not. See, 0 to infinity. But in our scenario, it is not the case, right? If I have a school, definitely I'll have students, right? And let's say if I remove this min occurs, I just had only max occurs equal to outbound. If you see here, it still shows 1 to infinity, because if you don't define the min occurs as 1, by default it will take min occurs as 1, which means this element is mandatory. By default, the element that you defined is mandatory. If you want to make it optional, you should explicitly mention that min occurs is equal to 0, or else or else it will, if you don't define this, it will become a mandatory element. Okay, so now I have students and student. I need school now, right? So what I defined till now is a complex type, right? But whenever I want to refer this schema in an XML, sorry, in our server project, I should have a root element, right? So defining that, so SOVA will understand only element, right? This is a complex type element. Name is equal to ch school. Now, I'm sorry. From here, I think you guys are clear, right? See, so defining this element, we'll see how uh, it works in the design time, right? Sorry. So I define this school as element. Right click inside this element. What should I insert? It's a sequence I insert. If you go in source, see, I got sequence. By default, I'll get a complex type. Why I'm getting complex type here? Because I did not define any type here, right? See, this is an element, right? This element is a simple type, and this element is a complex type because I am referring this one. This element should be a complex type because I am referring students. What should I have inside this sequence? An element. If you go source, I got the element. What is the element name? I'll say it's students. And what is the type? of this element is a students, right? A school contains students, right? A students contains multiple students, sorry, multiple occurrence, which has name, age, and percentage. Do you think this matches our XML here?
Yeah.
Right? School,
Yes.
inside
Yes,
students,
totally.
yeah, I have student, I have a name, age, and percentage. This is how I define a schema.
Okay.
So will be using the Java developer to design the schema?
Yes, we are, but there are many IDEs where we can define schema, but we are using JDeveloper here because JDeveloper is a one place where we can design Java, ADF, SOA, and all the XML technologies. We can connect to database, we can write SQL queries, everything we can do in JDeveloper.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So this is a simple XML file. We have a lot in simple XSD file. We have a lot in schema. So I mean, don't mind that sometimes I use schema and sometimes I use XSD. Both the same, right? We have many other features in schema, right? So we'll see that when we are going into technical. Okay. So hope you understand what is schema, how we will defining a schema, how we are defining complex type, right? How we are defining element, right? Okay. So as I said, there are still more, right? Let's say this schema that I defined here, these two parts, this complex type name is equal to student. I'll define this in a separate schema file, and I can import it here in this XML file. Sorry, in the schema file. So those things we'll see later. Okay. So we have enumerations, simple types. We have restrictions. We can keep the restrictions for this name. And we'll see all those properties in the further sessions. Right.
Okay.
Uh, do you want me to repeat anything in today's session?
Uh, I just want to summarize for the schema whatever we define now. Like so, this example has one schema called school, and
Yeah.
that has two complex types: students and other student will have a student.
Correct.
And student has a three nodes or elements.
Correct. You can say node also. Yeah.
Okay.
XML nodes, XML elements. Yeah. This is the one. You.
Can we?
Sorry.
Do we also like have like in one schema? Can we have like multiple schemas in a one XX in a schema definition? One XXT will have only one schema, or it can have multiple in real.
See, generally it will be having one XSD, one schema will have only one XSD file. But if there is a scenario that we want multiple XSD files, we'll definitely have that. Let's say we need 3 XSD files, we can have that. And all these 3 XSD files, we can import in the 4th XSD file. I can refer that.
Okay. Okay, you'll create 3 and then you'll refer them in the fourth one.
Fourth one. So I can use that 4th one, which means it will have all the uh, three XSD files. So we have that also to be covered. How we are importing the external uh, schema file in our schema. So there is a concept called canonical model. Let's say in this scenario, I just want to add the address field, right? So a school contains faculty also, right? This address is common for both the student and faculty. So what I'll do is I'll keep this address section in a different schema file, and I'll refer that schema file inside this XML, inside this schema file. So now the schema file that I defined for this address type, I can say it's a canonical model, right? It's a common thing for both students and faculty. So now here in this scenario, instead of this school.xsd, I'll put a student.xsd. I'll create one more schema called faculty.xsd, right? So they will have the name, age, and let's say the class that they are dealing with, right? For this student and faculty, the address is common. So that address I will define in a separate XSD file. I will refer that address in both my student and faculty schema. We will definitely see that how we will be doing that.
Okay.
Just pinging you one URL to all. So make sure by tomorrow we download these files. One of you can open that link and you can share your screen. I'll help you. Safik, can you make your presenter so that you can share your screen and
Yeah, sure, yeah.
You can share your screen.
Yeah.
I'm not able to see your
Yeah,
screen.
let me know when you can see the screen.
Okay. Yes, I am. So I think Edward also able to see it. Yeah.
Yes, it's come up for me.
Okay. So now first we need to register with Oracle.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So now explain this recommended install process. Make sure that we selected generic. In the Windows, Microsoft Windows 64-bit JVM, right? The top under the released will see. At the top you'll see.
Okay.
All platforms.
Okay.
Yep. Now open this recommended install process. We need to download this first two.
This one and this one.
Yeah, 1, 2. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to download now or?
No, you just download that. We'll see tomorrow how to install that.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Okay. So in tomorrow's session, we'll see the installation and we'll see configuring the server. If you have time, then we'll see simple SOA application.
Okay, yeah, sure.
As usual, we'll start with addition and subtraction using the people process. So Edward, I think you have an account with Oracle, right?
Yes, it's fine. I'll be able to download, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, sorry, Teja, one more thing. Just remind me again. What does XSD again stand for?
Sure, it's an XML schema definition.
Schema definition.
And the simple way we'll say schema.
Schema. All right.
So I think we are good for the day. Hope we can close the session.
Okay.
Okay. And Viswa, I think you are recording this session, right? Like, how do we get this? Use the link or
I need to check with guys. So I'll send this video to them. I don't know how they are going to share it.
Okay, that's
I've
fine.
done previous classes, Teja, with kids. What they usually do is, I think you share the mail on Google Drive, and then somehow we are able to download them
Okay,
after
okay,
every session. Yeah, yeah.
okay. Thanks, Edward.
Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow.
Yeah, will.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
just
Bye.
yeah.
Okay,
Thanks. Bye bye.
thanks.